Welcome to a soccer pub edition of Bet the Edge on Thursday, March 2nd. Thanks to everyone watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Coming up, Joe Prince-Wright of Pro Soccer Talk joins us as we look to Manchester United versus Liverpool and the other top matches for Week 26 in the Premier League. Welcome, Drew. Man, I was out on the course yesterday, but now we are switching to football. What are you looking forward to this weekend?
Everything. The Premier League is hot right now. The entire, the standings, particularly anywhere you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like who's getting relegated, like everything right now is kind of in flux. It's very, very exciting, and I cannot wait to get some insight from a guy who consistently has boots on the ground, and that is a huge aspect to handicapping.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's welcome in Joe of PST. Listen, Joe, I'm excited for you joining us because we had two matches yesterday. Arsenal beat Everton 4-0, which I was on the right side of that, and Liverpool beat Wolves 2-0, and luckily I was on the right side of that. But in the grand schemes of the table and what it means more for each club, which was the most impactful win of the two?
You know what, guys? Thanks so much for having me, by the way. It's great to be back. And I echo what Drew said. This time of the season is my favorite. I think as we enter towards the spring here in England, there's just games galore. And like you said, I don't know where to look up and down the table. But I do think Arsenal, given the significance of them still being in this title race and then going 5 points clear of Man City, extending that lead, just kind of really gives them confidence after that wobble they had with a few dodgy results and then the loss to City at home. I think just backing it up with such a resounding win against Everton, who they struggled against recently at Goodison and lost there, I think that's huge for their confidence. They're still a very young team. You know, when we look at the average starting lineup, it's the youngest, if not the second youngest in the Premier League this season. We kind of forget that of Arsenal, right? So they need these kind of reference points and to just keep being ahead and kind of feel like they can win it. And I think that was huge. But you know, I still think it was a big win for Liverpool as well. 4 shutouts in a row, 3 wins. Obviously, in and amongst that was that demolition they suffered at the hands of Real Madrid. So it's kind of a bit up and down for Jurgen Klopp's side. But the main thing for them is defensively. After that defeat to Wolves recently, they had to figure it out, go back to basics. You hear coaches say that a lot, right? And we didn't really know that Liverpool could do that under Jurgen Klopp because it's the full throttle, gegenpressing. They just go for it all the time. But they've shown me that they can play a different way, grind out results, and the likes of Salah, Gakpo, Nunez, and now chipping in with goals and kind of sharing the love around. So that's good news for Liverpool. But I still think Arsenal, that was pretty impressive. Just to kind of say, all right, Man City, you think you're going to catch us, but try and catch us if you can. We're still ahead of you. And of course, those two are still going to play this season. And what a game that's going to be at the Etihad when that one rolls around.
I could not agree with you more. And you really opened the door for my key question for you today, which is about the Liverpool-Man U match that we have on Sunday. Catch it at 11:30 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Liverpool has done well over their last 4 Premier League matches, 4 shutouts in a row, but it was really against teams that have been struggling to find offense. Now they take on Man U, who, after a very poor start to the season, has been kind of a truck. And I don't know, what do you hold higher? Like, is the defense fixed for Liverpool, or is this literally just a matter of they haven't faced elite offensive competition and Man U can unlock that door?
Well, Drew, we're about to find out in a big way if that defense is fixed. You're right; they haven't come up against teams who have got the, I think, attacking class, but also the attacking form, the momentum that Marcus Rashford has right now. Every time he steps on the pitch, he's basically scoring at the moment. And then you look at Bruno Fernandes, the playmaking, he's back to his best in those midfield areas. But then across the pitch, United have got so many other players just chipping in, be it Anthony from an attacking perspective, Garnacho, across all these competitions, even Fred's popping up with loads of goals. So, the experience for me is really key in this run for United because it's, you got Casemiro's back. He's the heartbeat of this team. What a signing he's been this season. And just gives them that great balance. And that's the best word I'd use about this United side. It's balance. And it's hard for teams defending them to know where the next threat's going to come from. Is it Rashford going in behind? Is he going to drift out wide? Who's coming in off the left? Which midfielders are breaking in? And it's a great blend. Obviously, the League Cup win helps confidence for them as well. First trophy under Erik ten Hag. So this is going to be a huge test for Liverpool. But that said, been lucky enough to be at Anfield for a lot of these huge rivalry games between these bitter rivals the last few seasons. And Liverpool always seem to have their number. Always, apart from the defeat at Old Trafford earlier this season, it was a really good run for Liverpool against Man United, matched up well, the high pressing. So it's hard to say, but yeah, I think Man United are obviously the favourites going into this one, but do not rule out Liverpool because, like we said, they've kind of got something figured out. Let's see now if they can take it onto the next level, be defensively sound, and then we know Salah, Gakpo, and Nunez, they are getting better as a trio, individually, finally finishing off chances. So, yeah, as you can tell, I'm very excited for Liverpool against Man United this week.
Man, that one's good.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that match. I actually bet United draw no bet. I know it's hard to win in Anfield, but just what Ten Hag's done with this team, I don't think that should be plus money. I feel like Liverpool would probably be fortunate to walk away with a draw here. So if I'm betting on a team that is playing for a draw, I'd rather fade them. This United team has been ultra impressive. You talked about it, but I just want to highlight how Ten Hag has brought these guys to new heights. Like, I don't think Rashford will be playing the level that he's playing. Garnacho's been playing at the level he's playing without Ten Hag implementing these tactics and this new way of playing football. That's playing with passion, playing with pride, and playing together. So let's go ahead and move over to Manchester City versus Newcastle. We had a thriller in the reverse fixture. I don't know if that's going to happen in here. Let's just talk about Newcastle real quick before we talk about this match as an isolated game. Newcastle have been struggling to score. Do you think that their inabilities to find the back of the net are going to ultimately make them fall out of the bottom of the top four? Excuse me.
I think so. I think, they're still ahead of schedule of where we all thought and deep down where Newcastle thought they'd be this season. So, yeah, what's it? 1 win in their last 7 in the Premier League. I think they've only scored 3 goals in that stretch, which they're hard to beat. I mean, they've only lost 2 games all season in the Premier League, so that's pretty incredible. But an awful lot of draws in there. And I think, as we would say, they just run out of steam. I think just run out of steam. And I think the League Cup final, being in that and trying to win a trophy for Newcastle for the first time in decades, all their focus has been on that for the last few weeks. And that's really derailed their Premier League top 4 push. But that said, matched up well against Man City earlier on the season. 6-goal thriller, drew 3 all at home. And that was when they were really at their height. So I'm looking forward to just seeing them keep it tight. Can they get to 60, 70 minutes with it still being level? And then I think it's anybody's game then, because Newcastle do have those attacking players to catch Man City on the counter, be it Almiron, Wilson, Isak. And, it's interesting to me, this game, because Man City, as good as we all know they are, we know that they've shown some defensive slip-ups in recent weeks. And there's just a weird kind of feeling about them right now. We know they want to win the Champions League, and that seems to be the main focus. But yeah, it's hard to call this one because Newcastle are a really stubborn, difficult team to play against. But I do wonder psychologically, losing the League Cup final, what that does to them for the rest of the season. It can either galvanize them and say, you know what, we're going to finish off the season. That's been great. We're going to try and get into the top 4. Or maybe now some of the players are looking over their shoulders thinking, the club has now got a lot of money. Owners are going to spend a lot. Am I going to be here next season? It's kind of uncertainty, I think, for a lot of those Newcastle players. But yeah, there's a potential upset on the cards here, and I don't know if I'd actually call it an upset anymore, which is a testament to how well Newcastle have done this season and where they're going in the future.
Well, that's fascinating. Newcastle, just because the unique way in which they're compiling points with not losing and just being a tough out has been interesting to see. I can't remember many other teams taking this strategy in terms of rising up in the Premier League standings, but exciting to watch it play out. And if they can hold off Man City, then that's absolutely worth paying attention to. The team that I am the most interested in getting your take on from like a macro sense is Chelsea. It didn't seem like when we started the season that this was going to be a free fall for these guys, but here they sit and it's just like they can't figure out a way to win. And now the buzz is they may be selling players this offseason. Like, what is going on with the direction of this franchise? And then specifically, how does that impact their matchup against Leeds? Leeds is a team that I have consistently had lower rated than market. We joke all the time, like if it bleeds, it's Leeds. But lately, they've been playing very stout defense, very tough to get goals against these guys. Is this a nightmare matchup for Chelsea? And what does the future hold for the Blues?
When we talk about Chelsea, I don't know how long you got. We can go on for hours about this. But essentially, I just see it as a huge problem with the new ownership coming in, the stockpiling of all this incredible talent, but then not really having places for them all and just being overstocked in certain areas of the squad. They never really bought a number 9 to finish off all these chances they've been creating. And then there's just been key injuries at really bad times for Graham Potter in recent months. And obviously, he's been much maligned here. The Chelsea fans are really upset with the boring style of play. And that's a fan base that's used to success, used to under the previous ownership of hiring, firing managers whenever, they went on the run of 6 or 7 games without a win. But that's not going to happen. Look at Arsenal, how, they were behind Mikel Arteta and what they're doing now. Look at, Man United, even at the start of the season when they were struggling, people were calling for Eric Ten Hag's head. They've been patient. Look at Liverpool, first kind of year or so under Jurgen Klopp, took a while to get going. So I'd really urge patience for these Chelsea fans because the money's clearly there. They can clearly get in quality players, and they have got quality players, but now it's all about getting them in the right combinations, getting them together. But they're a really weird team to kind of focus on. I think good luck to anybody really having a bet on them because I think defensively they're sound. Going forward, the main issue has been who's going to pop up with the goals. And, we've seen Captain America himself, Christian Pulisic, surprisingly back in training earlier than we thought. So maybe he's the savior for Graham Potter and Chelsea's season. But against Leeds, again, a really funny team because, as you said, they all season long, they just kind of flattered to deceive. Squad-wise, on paper, that team should be in the mid-table, maybe even top 10 of the Premier League. But right now, new manager, Javi Gracia coming in, solid. They'll be hard to beat. And I think we could see a very low-scoring game in this one between Chelsea and Leeds. So both teams who have better squads should be higher up the table, and maybe they'll get there in the future. But I think the next few months between now and the end of the season is key for both Chelsea and Leeds.
Wow. I appreciate that, Joe. I appreciate it for your time. Can you please tell people where to find you and what you're working on right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest news around the Premier League and the soccer world. You can see my Twitter handle there underneath. So I'm around Premier League stadiums, popping here, there, and everywhere here in England. So check me out. And thanks so much for having me on the show, guys. I really appreciate it. It's great to catch up.
Absolutely. Thank you. See you later. With all the new rules being implemented in the MLB impacting fantasy baseball, it is more important now than ever to get your Roto World Baseball Draft Guide. Find all player profiles, rankings, and projections you need to hit your draft out of the park. Go to NBCSportsEdge.com/draft guide and use PIN25 to save 25% at checkout. Drew, when we were talking, when Joe was talking about Chelsea, it kind of reminded me of, when someone wants to get into fashion, they buy a bunch of really nice clothes, but they buy them all one piece at a time, and they don't know what's going to match with each other. It's going to take a while for them to match, to have that cohesive, really nice looking outfit. And that's what Chelsea has. And until they get that one cohesive outfit that's going to be stunning, that's going to be walking the runway, I'm going to fade goals. I'm going to have to. 6 straight matches we have seen under 2.5 goals for Chelsea, and I'm going to bet it in this matchup. We talked about Javi Gracia coming in for Leeds. They have changed their philosophy. Before they were a press, high action. And we talked about it on this show where under Jesse Marsch, it was a lot of movement, which kind of put them in really delicate situations in terms of defending, getting back into transition, being behind the ball. Now under the new manager, they're behind the ball a lot more. I don't see them scoring at Stamford Bridge. If you want to play both teams to score, no, totally fine. I'm going to be on under 2.5 just in case it ends 1-1. But my prediction is closer to 1-0, 2-0 with Chelsea in favor. But no, I do not trust them to get a result here. So I'd rather just bet the under.
Yeah. Should we do a little sprinkle on 0-0 at 10-1?
Yeah, absolutely. We 100% should.
Yeah, that just the breakdown you made there and what Joe was kind of laying out. I mean, best of luck to either of these offenses, really.
For sure.
I kind of have a similar read on my my look for the weekend, which is going to be in the Southampton Leicester match. I think this one's going to be pretty cagey. You have two teams that are in a little bit of a desperate situation, coming off of some pretty poor performances midweek in the FA Cup. Leicester is, of course, a team that people would say, "Oh no, they're not facing relegation." I don't know about that. They are kind of right now hovering right around that bottom 3 with just 24 points in the season. Their manager is under distress, and they're taking on a Southampton team that recently faced a change at manager. Southampton, of course, last in the Premier League right now. They look almost certain for relegation. Only 18 points for the boys from the shore, that that doesn't spell success in my mind in terms of how either of these teams come into this game. I think you have a relatively cagey start. I would not be surprised to see 0-0 halftime scoreline, and for those reasons, because of the lower scoring environment, because of the kind of the importance of getting some sort of result for both of these teams, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game, and that leads to value for me on the draw in the first half result. So I'm going to take halftime draw plus 110, and cross my fingers that there's not a goal. And if there is, cross my fingers that we get an equalizer.
Yeah, 1-1. Hey, listen, if you played this last week blindly for every single match, you would have won a ton of money because there were so many 0-0s at halftime. That's just like such a standard score for the EPL at halftime. But either way, Drew, this was so much fun. And guys, don't forget to check out NBCSportsEdge.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those of you watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. And if you're listening in podcast form, don't forget to subscribe and rate us. For Drew Dinsick, I'm Brad Thomas. Take care.